Howdy there, folks. How are y'all doing? My name is Reese, and I hate the wall that I've built. I know, I said we might do something different today, and I'm not opposed to doing something different today, right? Like, I like the idea of doing something different today. It's just, we're not doing something different today. I'll explain why here in a minute. Let's look up bricks. Is that what we need to do? There we go. So here's the situation, all right? Let me make you aware. This just looks flat and boring. What I'm going to do instead, and this won't take but a minute, so we're not going to be doing this all day, mind you. I thought it would look better if we had, there we go, a line down here, and then a line up here, and we replace this back here. We replace these with just regular blocks, and we're just going to see how that looks. It won't take but a second. It won't take but a second, trust me. Or maybe even we leave this open so you can travel between the different points on the wall. Oh, I love this even more. Because it makes the wall practical. It makes it make sense. Instead of having these blocks here, this is open, and you can travel around. We didn't build, now that I think about it, a way for you to get in and out of here, but we didn't build a way for these guys to get in and out either. They're just always up there. People have to, like, dip sponges in water and hand them up to them, and that's how they get their sustenance. How am I supposed to do this, though? Is this supposed to be upside down? I feel like it is. I feel like this is supposed to be upside down. Let me see. That would require that I do something like this, which I'm struggling with at the moment. Yeah, I can't quite get that. What if we put a block here, and then we did that? Right? So this is what makes the most sense to me, which is going to be a bit problematic. But look, if you look at it like that, doesn't that just look better? First off, it makes the wall look a little bit taller. It's exactly the same height, but that hanging over the edge makes it look a bit taller. And this prevents spiders from crawling in, because it creates a ledge, a gap. You know, a spider's going to come up here, and they're going to hit that. They're not going to be able to crawl over it. And it makes the wall look a little bit less goofy, which is sort of what I was aiming for with this whole design. I like that more. I like that a lot more. I think you'll agree it looks a lot better. I got to figure out how to implement it over here on these sides, though. Not sure what to do here. Maybe we just have it butt up here, and then it transitions into this piece. Or maybe, like, this is going to look dumb, but let's just experiment for a little bit longer here. Because, I mean, what else have we got going on today, y'all? I don't have much else going on today. I'm here for this. This is what I'm here for. This is my investment. We can't have spiders climbing up these towers here either, and just crawling over the crenellations and attacking people. We can't allow that. So what happens if we do the stairs upside down out here as well? Well, first off, nothing, because that's not going to create that layer that we need to block. Oh, well, yeah, I guess it is. I guess it might. But not if we do it like that. That's not going to work. It's going to have to go out and over, isn't it? So, Shrek me. I'm in a real pickle now, aren't I? I've done a bad thing. I've taken something that was complete, and I've gone ahead and I've made it complicated. What if we did that, and then... Oh, dadgummit. What have I done? How is this going to work? All right, so it's going to go around like this. It's going to make the tops of these towers that much bigger, but it's going to go all the way around, and then it's going to link up right over there like that. That kind of works. And then up there, what we can do is we can get some stone slabs. So we'll get some of those. Let's see, stone... slab, would it just be slab? It'd be stone brick slab, wouldn't it? That's the situation. Can we not? It might be a situation where we can't actually condense those because the EMC value, yeah, would be lower than the base of the item. If the words I just said make sense to you, let me hear you say "hey-o." Boom, boom, clap. Let me hear you say "hey-o, hey-o." That's a reference to a YouTube video. Is that a YouTube video? Does that YouTube video still exist? Do any of my cultural references still exist, I wonder? Why wonder? Okay, see, now that was a mistake there. Oh, yeah, there we go. It looks so much less goofy. And speaking of things that are goofy, how about Kingdom Hearts, guys? No, I was just talking to Jenna, and we have this thing that we talk about where we talk about, like, music that we can listen to that immediately, like, stirs emotions within us. And for me, one of those is the track Dearly Beloved from the Kingdom Hearts games. That just is huge up there now. That is massive. That looks good, though. I approve. Dearly Beloved is a bop and a half. It's a real treat of a song. And if you haven't listened to it, then my only question to you is, what are you doing with your life? You gotta go get on that. Dearly beloved. It's the version at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3, in my opinion, is the best. The way that it builds towards the end, and it like rises, and it's got like the crescendo and all those musical terms that I vaguely remember from that time I took musical theory. Did we ever talk about that? I took musical theory. My mandolin teacher was in college studying music. Like, that was his major. And when we got to a point where he was like, look, I can't really teach you how to be better at mandolin anymore. I've taught you everything you need to know. All you got to do is practice, which I'm sad to say I did get out of the habit of after I stopped taking lessons. But he's like, I can teach you music theory, I guess, if you want to learn how to write songs and what makes a good song and all of that. And I was like, well, you know what, Chief? That sounds like a fun time. Sure, let's do that. Why not? And so we moved on to studying musical theory. And I learned quite a bit about musical theory, that most of which, again, I have forgotten, but which has served me kind of well in my life since then. It has helped me pick up other instruments and figure out how to play things, and how to figure out how to play songs, I'll say, is probably the greatest thing I learned from that. Because once you understand sort of the basics of music, it's real easy to then listen to a song and figure out, like, okay, I know that's this chord, and I know what key it's in, and I know what progression it's probably using, because even if I can't, like, listen and hear the exact chords being used, I know which chords would be used in which key and how to progress through them, and it's useful. It's very useful, and I like music a lot. But that is not relevant to what we were talking about. Music that gets you. Music that makes you feel things. Comment down below. What is one song that you can listen to, and regardless of what you're doing or where you're at or what's going on, you just immediately you start feeling it? What is that one song for you? There's some others for me. There's some others too. Maybe songs that... You know what? There's actually a ton of them on the How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack. Oddly enough, that one is full of just really good songs. There's one called Two New Alphas. Oof. That's from the second film. That one gets to me. That one gets to me in a big way. In a major way, one might say. That's a good series of movies. You know, I still haven't seen the third one. I watched the show that was on Nickelodeon, and then it had a follow-up, like Race to the Edge or something on Netflix that I have not watched yet, but I need to. And then I've yet to watch the third film, even though... loved those first two movies an awful lot, like an obsessive amount. Those movies were grand, and the soundtracks are total bops. If you haven't listened to them lately, I strongly recommend them. I remember getting kind of emotionally moved when the Star Wars theme started playing when I went to watch Episode 7. Although I would say I was just emotionally moved from the moment that a long time ago when a galaxy far, far away popped up on the screen. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my childhood. Because the first time I saw Star Wars was in 1999, and I didn't want to see it. And the commercials looked scary as a kid. Darth Maul was going to eat my face. I was terrified. I'd never seen the originals, and I had no interest in seeing the prequel. Like, I had no interest in seeing The Phantom Menace. And my dad was like, it's a movie day. Let's all go to the movie. And, of course, he did, and I loved it. And so, you know, I saw all the prequels in theaters. I remember leaving thinking, well, that's it then. That's a chapter of my life done. And I was very distraught about it. But then the Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon was coming out, and they made a movie based on the first few episodes of that show. And I was like, hey, we're back into it. But then that movie sucked. Clone Wars, great show. Really loved the show. Really loved the characters. But I remember watching that movie, and I was like, this is terrible. I remember one of my friend's older brothers, when I was talking to him about it, he's like, oh yeah, wasn't that great? And I was like, no, what is wrong with you? No, that was terrible. The prequels are good movies. This was terrible. I loved the prequels, by the way. Unapologetically, still love them. Like, it's strange. Like, the critical part of my brain recognizes that they are not good films, but there's another part of my brain that just kind of likes that they're bad. You know, it's the same part of my brain that loves when Sora smiles in the first Kingdom Hearts. It's just so cheesy, but it is also so genuine. It's unsarcastic. It is pure. It is wholesome. It is undiluted, unpolluted even. You know, I love that about that game. There we go. So we built this side all the way over. I love how genuine the Star Wars movies all are. Earnest. I've oftentimes heard the Star Wars movies not necessarily the prequels, but the original trilogy is being described as earnest. You know, there is no wink and a nod to the audience, except for Han Solo. But that is his character. He winks and nods to the audience like, yeah, this is all a bit ridiculous, isn't it? And I think that's just because Harrison Ford thinks that, yeah, this is all a bit ridiculous, isn't it? You don't get that a lot in Kingdom Hearts, though, right? Like, everyone treats the situation, like, you know, when they're delivering the dialogue, like, my heart may be weak, but it's grown stronger with all the friends I've made along the way, all that cheesy sort of dialogue. I live for that. It reminds me a lot of How I Met Your Mother, in a way, where How I Met Your Mother has a lot of real cheese fest lines, and it's always delivered, at least from Ted. Ted always delivers the lines in a genuine, non-mocking, like, this is his sincerity. He believes these things he's saying. And being a millennial, I know, I'm not happy about it either. My generation was always the cynical generation. The always, like, rolls eyes and like, uh-huh. And I've always hated it. I've always hated the constant sarcasm, the constant, like, nothing's ever serious, everything's a joke, everything's just, I like things that are refreshingly genuine and authentic. I think that's why YouTube took off. In a world of sort of, traditional media feeding that kind of millennial cynicism, YouTube was a place where people were just themselves. And yeah, you've got some actors, you've got some people who put on appearances and put on characters and whatnot. But for the most part, you tune in and you watch Simon and Lewis talk about Jaffa cakes. It feels genuine. It feels like you're not watching actors reading lines and doing a role. You're watching two people just having a genuine conversation. And when you listen to Sips, he's saying nonsensical things. He's just going off in these random weird tangents. But it sounds, it's a real person. And there's a certain sort of genuine, heartfelt layer to it all that you didn't get on traditional media. And I know that we started this video off talking about music, and I still want to hear your answers in the comment section down below. What is that one track from a soundtrack, from a movie, from a video game, or any really just song that you can hear, and it starts the emotional, like, train rolling. It's coming around the bend, and you ain't seen the sun shine. Okay, sorry. I do apologize. But yeah, I think that's why I like YouTube. And I think that's why it kind of sucks when you find out that people you've been watching on YouTube aren't genuine. Newsflash, some people are not what they appear to be. And I hate that. But it does sort of make you feel like, there are certain people who are just genuinely the way that they are. And it makes you appreciate them so much more. I've always tried to be as genuine and myself as possible in these videos. I've never put on a character. Sometimes I will yell howdy folks with a bit more enthusiasm than I'm feeling at the start of a video, especially if I'm sick or I'm tired and I'm recording. But I've never tried to, put on a face or put on an act or try to be, like, I remember it was real popular for a time for all the gaming YouTubers to be like, I don't know, maybe it still is. I don't keep track of those people. I always found those channels to be ingenuine. Again, that's part of why I liked YouTube, was how it felt genuine and a bit annoying. Actually, a lot annoying. Super, super annoying. So I never watched them, and I never wanted to be that. I've gotten comments before on videos from people saying, like, it's nice to find someone who's not just, that's not what I meant to make, someone who's not just yelling all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I certainly try to be that exactly. I don't want to be just another one of the millions of people running around on YouTube shouting all of the time, because it is grating, and it's annoying, and it's not original, There's a million other people out there doing that. It's not you. It's not me. It's not who I am. It's not my voice or my personality. And I'm very proud of comments that I've gotten like that. I did also get a comment the other day on one of my older Tekkit Legends videos where they're like, yeah, this guy's not the most annoying person I saw. And I was like, you know what? I will also take that as a compliment. Because he's seen a lot of annoying people, I'm sure. And the fact that I'm lower down in the list is great to hear. I'd hate to be accused of doing an act, though, or doing a character. Because you see that sometimes. I remember one of the earliest, I think probably the first Sea Nanners video, that it was him doing live commentary. Because normally, he recorded something after the video, and, it was like a commentary. And he was sometimes talking about the gameplay, sometimes not. But he did I believe it was the whatever the newest Battlefield game was at the time. He recorded his commentary live, and he released that as a video, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And because people were not used to that at the time, people at the time, we didn't do Let's Plays, like that. I think Minecraft really brought forward the new generation of Let's Play, the next generation of Let's Play, especially to YouTube. Before that, it was mostly dominated by commentaries. And people were just like, well, this isn't real. That was the very first, very harsh reaction to listening to, oh, it turns out Scene Anners is a funny guy, and he's quick on his feet, and he's quick-witted, and he can come up with these funny things as he's going. And the comments were just full of people being like, this is clearly not genuine. He's making all this stuff up, and he's adding it later. No one's that funny. It's like, you must have a very small list of very boring people you hang out with if you've never met someone quick-witted and funny before. But that's what it was. They were just these people who were just could not believe. They could not believe that anyone was genuinely coming up with anything. It was that millennial sense of like, the cynicism and the doubt that is so pervasive within my generations. These people just like, no, this isn't real. I cannot believe it. And people were calling it into question. I was like, I fully believe it. There's nothing about Scene Anners that has led me to believe he can't be this quick-witted on his feet. He can't come up with these sort of funny bits as he's going. And there's nothing in the video to suggest that it was, edited to hide the fact that it wasn't all happening live. It's just one of those instances where I realized how irritating people on the internet can be, particularly, again, millennials. I find Gen Z to be far more enjoyable on the whole. They are far more agreeable on the whole. They are far less blech on the whole. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to do that. I think that might make the wall look too big, but let's play with it for a second here and see how we feel. Like if we have just this part mocked up like that, how does that make it look? So if we have just that there. Ooh, that makes it look really intimidating. That looks super intimidating. How about compared to over here where it doesn't have that? It feels unfinished. That's what it feels like. Okay. We'll have to do that then. We'll have to go along here. And now that does mean that all of this is going to have to be broken up and replaced with just regular blocks. Or I can add, because I think if you just add, it still counts it as a slab if you add a second one. But if you break it now, it breaks both slabs. I don't know. Maybe I'll just go through here and I'll break all the slabs and replace them with blocks. I would prefer to do that for some reason than I would stack double slabs. Where was I going with that? Yeah, Gen Z. Gen Z is our future, my friends. I was watching this funny thing the other day. It was these YouTube or these Twitter memes and these Instagram memes of the OK Boomer thing that apparently Gen Z is saying. I've seen more millennials say it, but it's sort of this derogatory, like, oh, you're old and dumb and you don't get what's going on. And Gen Z is reacting to it very harshly, like, oh, this is a hate speech against old people. And the replies are just like, okay, boomer. It's like, what a dumb thing to be offended by. If you're old and someone's not going to take your advice or take your lessons that you've learned in your life, they're not going to put any merit into it, and they're just going to reply with, okay, boomer. That's their problem, not yours. To my boomer audience, which I know is out there, don't sweat it. These young kids are idiots. They'll realize it someday. Someday, they will be in your position where they're trying to impart their wisdom from the years on the next generation, and the next generation is going to go like, okay, Zoomers, which I've already started to say. I've started to say that to my brother, because he's Gen Z, and all of these other, or Gen Z, if you will. Gen Z just sounds dumb, though. Gen Z is where it's at. That's their generation, and they're Zoomers, and I enjoy saying okay, Zoomer at them. But it seems to me like if you look at boomers and you look at Zoomers, they are far more alike than Zoomers and millennials or boomers and millennials. And millennials, man, something went wrong with y'all. And I say y'all, me too. Just a weird, messed up, hypersensitive generation of grown babies who never, I don't think, ever grew up, And I don't necessarily blame the millennials. I blame their parents. They did a pretty incompetent job. My parents did good. Don't get me wrong. I turned out flawlessly. But all you other parents, they shreked up real bad. But whatever generation is raising the Zoomers, they're doing good work. They're doing God's work out there. They're turning out okay. They make funny memes. I'll tell you what. You want to see the fundamental difference between a Zoomer and a millennial look at the OK sign. Okay, so for those of you who are not aware, the OK sign. Are you familiar with 4chan? Probably. 4chan did a thing where they were like, can we turn the OK sign into a hate symbol and then convince the mainstream media that it is a hate symbol? And there's evidence of this. You can go read the original thread where they discussed how they were going to do this. They did it. They've managed to convince the mainstream media and boomers and millennials in particular that the OK hand gesture is a white nationalist symbol. White nationalists were not using this symbol beforehand, but 4chan managed to convince the mainstream media and millennials that it is in fact a hate gesture used by the racist white people. And even though there's proof that they did this as a bit, millennials are sold on it. They're so sold on it. They're like, oh, it's a symbol for hatred. That's the sound that millennials make. They go, and the difference between the millennial and the Zoomer is the Zoomer looks at that and they laugh so hard. And they do it so much because they're not white nationalists. They just like to irritate the millennials. And it's easy. It's easy to irritate the millennials because they have such small brains and they have such thin skins. And it's so easy to get under. And they react so big to everything. Everything is the end of the world to a millennial. And that's the difference between Zoomers. They get under their skin. They do a lot to spite the millennials, and I appreciate that because millennials are trying to like rule everyone else's lives. They all think that what they believe is the most important thing, regardless of what it is. And they think that their belief should be forced on other people. They're the modern day Puritans. We've talked about this before. And the Zoomers are just intentionally fighting back against them. And it's a delight to watch. And I think that, boomers couldn't take down millennials. They're prime, they're past their prime, their time has come and gone. But the Zoomers, they have it in them. The Zoomers can do it. I believe that Zoomers can save us all. Dun 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 dun. This has been a random conversation, I realize. I forgot to set a timer for this episode. It happens every few episodes. I neglected to set the timer, so I think we're like over 20 minutes by now, though, so maybe I should call it. But there we go. There's the inside of this place done. And the wall is now, I can say pretty definitively, looking good, looking sharp, looking complete. So thank you folks for watching. Boomers, Zoomers, and my fellow millennials, we're not all bad. And I'm okay. Some of my millennial friends are okay, some of them. And all of you millennials watching are, of course, in my good graces. You are good people, trust me. Until next time, thank you all for watching. God bless you, and I'll see you later. Bye!